Hi, welcome to Spike Leo's Twitch show. Today we're gonna do a Twitchtorial. Alright. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the studio. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to Spike Leo. Alright, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it, man. Yeah! We're back to it, man. Let's get into it. Come on, fam. Come on, Cletus. Yo, Divvy Beats, how you doing, man? Tell me, Divvy Beats, where you from, brother? Or sister? Brother from another mother? Or sister from another mister? How you doing? Shit, another weekend. Exciting times in Melbourne. We're about to finish 2 years of lockdown. God damn it. 2 years of lockdown. Holy crap, man. That needs a round of applause. Divvy Beats, thank you for being so early in the chat. How you doing, Divvy Beats? Appreciate you being here. Just about to get into it, man. Yeah. Come on, Cletus. Come on. Exciting times. Divvy Beats, where you from? Where you from, Divvy Beats? What can I tell you? It was a lovely weekend. Got to finally see family after not seeing them for, 6 to 8 months. I didn't see my own mother for 6 to 8 months. Melbourne. Oh, sweet. Sweet, bro. Part of the tribe. Melbourne tribe. Congratulations. Luddy, what's up, man? First time chat. Appreciate you being in the chat. Yo, Melbourne, it's exciting to be out of lockdown. Am I right? Am I right? This is how I'm feeling about being out of lockdown. Luddy Bud, where you from, brother? That's how excited we are to be out of lockdown. Divvy Beats, how long you been producing for, man? Tell me a bit about yourself, boys. I'd love to hear what's going on, what you're doing, what you're up to. How's the weather treating you? Thank you for coming through to the stream. I'm gonna be doing a free Twitchtorial today. Oh, bruh, I'm so glad.
Catch me outside. How about that?
I'm so glad it's over. England, yo, England in the house. Well, this is for England, man. My dad's British, so I'm part of the English tribe. I've been in London for a little bit of time, and let me tell you, I've never suffered more than being in London. Now, let me tell you why I suffered in London. Firstly, when I got to London, okay, here's a little story for you, right? So, a little story. I want to give you a little story. Okay. So I was flying to London. I was in my 20s. I'm going to make it brief. But I had no idea, because we're from Australia and we have the Queen's. I don't think I have any coins, but we have the Queen's face on our money. Okay, so I just thought like we were homies, Australia and the UK. You know, I thought we're homies because the Queen is on all of our money, and I just thought we're homies. Okay, so I'm in my 20s. I come into London. They're like, hello, chap. What are you doing here? And I said, well, I've really liked Stomp my whole life, and I'm just coming through to London, and maybe I'll do some auditions or whatever. I might get my British passport. I'll just see how it is, because my dad's British. They're like, oh, really? So you came to work? I said, no, not necessarily. I said, maybe I'll work. I don't know. I was 20 and stupid and naive, and I didn't know that coming into London, Australians need visas. Now, that's not very nice. That's not very nice, London, because we have the Queen's face on our money. I thought we can just rock up. And I remember my dad telling me, look, you probably need a visa to get into London. You can't just rock up. I'm like, Dad, come on. The Queen owns us. Of course we can just rock up. This is our hometown, and I can get a British passport. You're English. Anyway, cut a long story short, which I won't because it's a good story. They said, okay, can you follow us this way? And I'm like, they took me away from, passport control from immigration. I was like, oh, where are we going? They're like, yes, we just need to check some things. They stripped my suitcase. They looked through everything, checked my passport, and then, get this, ready? And then they took me and they locked me in airport jail. They locked me in airport jail in London, right? I'm in my 20s. I think it's Christmas Eve. They lock me in airport jail, not for 1 hour, not for 2 hours. Now, let me tell you how many hours I was locked in airport jail for, okay? I'm going to get to that. But there was no one in the room. I wasn't allowed to take my laptop. They said, I'm sorry, but you can't take anything into the room with you. You've got to leave your suitcase and your phone and everything here. Now, I was shit scared. I was in my 20s, 21, 22, okay? I'm traveling by myself for the first time. I rock up to London airport after a long bloody flight, and I get there. They lock me up in airport jail. I'm sitting in airport jail, and next to me is some crazy, okay? I'm not dressed crazy or anything, just dressed like a 20-year-old kid. There's a crazy next to me with pants, and he has all these wires coming out of his pants. I'm shitting you not. This is 100% true. All these wires coming out of his pants, like gothic, crazy hair everywhere. Wires coming out of his pants. And I said, oh, what's that dude for here? They said, oh, we thought he had a bomb. A bomb? What? I'm 20. You haven't found any. You think he had a bomb, and you're putting me in a jail with a guy who had a. So I'm shitting myself, right? I have some family in London, and I get hold of my dad. I burst into tears. I'm like, I'm in airport prison in London. Now, I was in that prison for 11 hours. 11 hours I was in airport prison. Can you imagine being in your 20s, right, going to London for the first time, and you're in prison, airport prison, after a long-ass flight for 11 goddamn hours? And I remember we got in touch with some family over there, right? And I think one of the family members was a lawyer. They're like, okay, we're going to try and work it out. Eventually, they got me out of airport prison. Yo, thank you for the follow, Antarctica. I'm going to give you this for the follow. We love a good follow here. Hell yeah. Yo, what's up? Antarctica 77, where you from? I'm going to be reading all of your stuff. Tell me where you from, fam. Anyway, I'm in airport jail, 11 hours. I eventually get out. I come out of London airport. It was the most terrifying experience of my life. And I was like, God damn it, that was crazy shit. And I had a bad time in London. I was not meant to be there. That was a message telling me, yo, brah, I'm just letting you know that London is not for you, okay? Cold. It was depressing. I couldn't get a job. I think I eventually got a job at Camden Pub, all right, getting £6 an hour. I didn't have enough money to even buy myself some food after the shift. And I think the manager there hated me. And I remember I went to get a job, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm looking for a job. She's like, look, we get lots of job applications. We get lots of job applications every day. I'm not going to remember you. And I said, okay, well, I'll email you, and I'll put the subject heading as, I'm the guy who you won't remember. And she laughed, and I got the job for being a smartass. That's probably the first time in my life. Thank you. That's the first time in my life that being a smartass actually got me somewhere, and I did get a job there. It was the worst job of my life. It was fun, because we could drink on the job as long as we didn't get too drunk. But I remember being an Aussie guy. I went in there. I didn't understand anything that anyone was saying. So I remember they'd be like, hey, mate, got to get me a beer. And I'm like, what? What? And if they had to ask me twice, they'd start getting really, really angry, especially in Camden. Anyway, that was my London experience. I haven't been back there since. I got my British passport in the end, never used it. And that's pretty much it. Yo, Luddy, Antarctica, Divi Beats. Yo, Divi Beats, been producing for about 5 years now, making 80s and 90s R&B soul-type beats and funky shiz. Oh, bro, I want to hear some of that funky shiz. Louisiana, how you doing, Louisiana in the house? Come on, man. Luddy, it's nice you guys have joined the chat. I'm going to be doing a free Twitchtorial today. Is there any other kind? I'm going to keep it gangster. I'm going to be teaching you guys some of my biggest tips to making shit sound dope. And guys, if you want to share some tracks, if you go to the Discord channel, I would absolutely love to hear what you guys are doing. I'm happy to give you some feedback or just play it on the stream. So please, if you do want to share your stuff, Divi Beats, my Melbourne brother from another mother, I would love to hear the 80s and 90s R&B because I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 80s. So I love that. I love the funky shiz. Send it through. And Antarctica and Luddy Bud, what do you guys do with yourself, fam? Introduce yourselves, man.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Yeah, catch me outside. How about that? Introduce yourselves, guys. I'd love to hear what you're doing, where you're at in your careers. You know, I love to use this channel as kind of a place where we can all share and chat. And, you know, realistically, we all want to make a few dollars from this. So I really kind of want to use this channel to build some community, help everyone level up and have some fun. As you know, I'm not taking things too seriously.
Hadouken Sub-Zero. Hadouken! Oh, I'm Electric Blanca Sub-Zero!
Hell yeah. I started writing and singing this year, working on my first album now. Shit, yeah. Are you gonna share some of that stuff with us? I make a bit of music here and there as a hobby, working on an album. Yeah, everyone's working on albums. This is great news. This is fantastic. Play guitar and sing, so it's folk singer. Okay, I'm down with that. I'd love to hear your stuff, Antarctica and Luddy Bud. You guys gotta send it through on the Discord channel, man. There's a shared tracks area there where you can share anything you want to share. I don't mind. And also, I'd love to know, like, what do you guys... Is there anything that you're struggling with music production-wise? Because every Monday here, we're doing Twitchtorials and Twitchtorial. So today I'm going to be talking about my top three plugins, okay? The top 3 plugins that are going to change your life. And I promise you they will make a huge difference if you just understand. Now, I've taught this to hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of students. Oh, Renzo, I'm guessing that's one of you guys in the chat. Renzo sent something through. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to have a listen. But yeah, I've taught this to I'd say I'm up there in the thousands of people, this method, and it is game-changing, fam. All right, so this is Joe Carter Jr. My first play guitar. Yeah, man, I sent something in your Discord. It's my first public. Okay, we're gonna check it out, man. Let's welcome to Doorland. Okay, so Joe Carter from above. This is your track, yeah, Joe Carter. We're playing this one right now, yeah. Give it up for Joe Carter, fam. All right. Oh, I accidentally pressed a spacebar. I already like it. All right, here we go. Joe Carter from above. What a nice way to start the Monday morning in Australia.
That night, when I first saw you, you were bright, and my heart blinded by your light. Your light. And I tried to see a version of my life without you by my side, I was in need of a change. For years and years I've been the same. The same. Forsake.
It's nice playing, man.
Love to hide me from its pain. I had locked myself away. But still, though I tried and tried, I can't seem to catch your eye. And this, my unrequited love.
I feel like I could be chilling on the beach with this type of music, man. Having a drink.
When you came from above, from above, from above. To think that I had woken from a dream just to be put to sleep, to sleep. And my hope, it doesn't live in reality, keeps the cycle on repeat, repeat.
Alright, fam. Let's give it up for Joe Carter, man. What's the vibe, man? Firstly, was that your first song that you've done, man? Yeah. Was that your first song? The guitar playing is delicious. I think we can all agree. And the singing is very chilled and beautiful and relaxing. I mean, it needs a bit of a mix. I would say a bit more of a mix, but yeah, it's gorgeous, man. It's beautiful. The only thing I would say is, look, this is always just I'm always coming from a commercial standpoint. So I'm always thinking about what's going to be most consumable. You know what I mean? So I would say make it shorter. It's beautiful, and cut out any fat. But that's just my opinion. You can make the song 5 minutes. But as a new artist, you'd be struggling to get people to listen to 5 minutes until you're more established. That's just my 2 bobs. But I think the guitar playing is beautiful, and I think the singing is beautiful. People who really love that style of music, I don't see why they wouldn't be trying to find that and check it out, man. So give it up for Joe Carter. Joe Carter from Louisiana. It's great. I love it. And thank you for sharing, man. It takes a lot of guts to be able to share something, especially when you've done it first time. Yeah, bro, you sound like a seasoned pro, Sound like you know what you're doing. Just got to work on your production chops and stuff like that. But I think the track itself is really beautiful. All right, so are you guys ready for a little bit of a Twitchtorial? I'm going to drop some gems for you. And this stuff's going to be a game changer. I'm going to do it with a track that I did last Wednesday with a MC called MQ, and I made this beat within an hour. It's on one of the other Twitch streams from last Wednesday. This is day 33, so it should be day 32. I think we did it, but check it out. I'll show you the music, and we made this in 1 hour with the music and with the instrumental. Woo-wee. Love it. So this is with the vocals.
Damn cute, tell him. Slick as syllabus since the slip of Sisyphus. Been rolling stone, check the moss that's at my fingertips. Catching vibes from these side-eyed duplicitous degenerates that never felt the high of what I'm living with. Organic prana, natural nirvana. Divine grace, magical with the mana. Fourth dimensional, watching the diorama. Reincarnated so much, I'm teaching the Dalai Lama. I'm reaching another atmosphere, preaching on love without the fear. Seeking to touch the seeker, Spike Leo's blowing up speakers. Bringing it home like I'm Spider-Man. Hype from the world, never hide the fan. Pew when the peak was behind the man. Doing the stream with the vibe demand. I command where my story goes. Buck what they heard, it's my rodeo. High in the land, but the Lord he knows. Move to the path where the glory flows. I'm sitting, spilling my feelings just from the agua. But Spike and Rum, we spike the drums. We're prowling like some jaguars.
All right, so we're going to have a look at this today. I'm just going to be looking at the instrumental, okay? So let's have a look here. I want to talk about step 1, step 2, and step 3 in that order, okay? So we'll have a look at some drums. Cool? And if you have any questions, let me know. Tell me if you're with me. Okay, so let's have a look at the kick first, all right? Where's me volume over here? Beautiful. Now, what we need to look at in these top 3 plugins, this is my compressor that I'm using right now. Give me 2 seconds. Let me turn this up. Wonderful. All right, great. So we're looking at why we use plugins. So this is Logic Pro, bro. Logic Pro. Logic Pro X. Doesn't matter what DAW you're using with this. It can be Ableton, Cubase, whatever. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the top 3 plugins. And the first plugins I want to talk about, but the idea of plugins is we're trying to replicate if we were in a big, expensive studio and we had all the equipment in the world and we didn't have to worry about money, okay? So plugins have allowed us to enter that world and it's much more affordable, obviously. And plugins have got to a point where they've developed them to such a standard that you don't really need the gear anymore. Now, obviously, as you can see, I'm a little bit biased. I really love gear. And gear is very sexy. It's always going to be sexy, and we're always going to want it. But we don't really need it, to be honest, in this day and age. The plugins are really good. Okay, so let's talk about consoles. So let's have a look first. We're going to have a look at a few different consoles, and I want to go with the kick. Let's chuck that up here. Okay, so we're going to have a look at an SSL console. There's 3 consoles that we want to look at. And what we want from these things is we want to be able to get the artifacts from the, the natural saturation and color from these plugins. So whenever we use a piece of hardware, a piece of hardware colors the sound, and the plugins are replicating that, all right? So we're going to look at a SSL channel strip. So what I usually do when I'm teaching this stuff, thank you, Joe Carter, for the track, SSL console, okay? Let's have a look. So if we have a look at an SSL console, you're going to hear these words come up again and again and again. You see this big, scary-ass console, right? And you look at that, and for someone who's a bit more of a novice, you'll go, holy crap, that looks intimidating. What do? So basically, if we look here, these guys on the bottom are all volume controls, okay? And if we just look at one volume control, let's just say this volume control operates the kick, and the channel strip goes all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up here. And within that one channel strip, you can alter the sound. You can color it, there's compression, there's EQ. It's basically all the plugins on one channel strip, so you can really color and sculpture the sound. Okay, so this is an SSL console. They all have signature knobs and bits and pieces. The other one we're looking at is an API console, okay? We're doing a little bit of a history lesson here. Now, the SSL console is known for being transparent and punchy. That is its characteristic. It's used and become very popular on a lot of hip-hop records. Okay, so it doesn't color the sound too much, but it makes it transparent, which is like see-through, clear, and punchy. It gives low end a lot of punch. Then we have something like the API console. Okay, let's have a look at a nice API console over here. That's a terrible image, a little bit pixelated, etc., etc. There's all different sizes. Same thing, okay? So we have the volume. You can see the knobs have their own kind of personality and look. And this was used, everyone has a console that they prefer. It was used for like a lot of rock and roll and pop music and bits and pieces back in the day. And then we have something like the Neve console, which was used on a lot of on records like the Beatles and obviously hundreds of thousands of other different records. It has its own look as well. If we have a look here at the knobs and bits and pieces. And this is people say this warms up the bass. It's really good on instruments in the mid-range frequency. People love this particular console, or a 1073 Neve, for vocals and stuff like that. Now, if you look at all these consoles, right, if you just run them at a normal level, and I'm going to get to my point with the plugins, they're not going to add any color. They're all just going to sound the same. The moment that we actually hear the difference with any of these consoles is when we drive the input. So we have input and we have output. Output is the volume, and input is how much we drive the sound or the source of the sound or the kick or whatever it is into the console. The more we drive it into the console, the more we're driving the transformers and the electronics, and we are getting a color from the console. And these consoles in particular have their own colors. There's a lot of engineers that wouldn't use another console. If they go in a studio, they just, that's the one they want to use. They want to use a Neve console, or they're hip-hop guys, they're like, I'll only use an SSL, so on and so forth. So if we have a look here, this is from the SSL family, okay? And you can use either Waves or UAD or Slate Digital, all the same kind of stuff. Some are a bit higher quality. It just depends what you like. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you just want to try and understand what it does. So if we have a look here, okay, we have output, that's our volume. We have this one, which is input. And this is like one of those channel strips, okay? Like this one all the way up, but it's obviously condensed down into this, okay? So we have the output here, which is volume, input here. Over here, this maybe looks a little bit overwhelming, but I'm going to simplify it. And we don't need to know too much about this because I want to make this kind of a beginner's guide, okay? But we have SSL and API and Neve. And basically here we have LMF. This stands for low mid frequency. Here we have low frequency, okay, these two guys, low middle frequency, high middle frequency, and this is high frequency up here, okay? Now, when we have a look here at plus 15 and minus 15, this is just volume. Same here, plus 15, minus 15, plus 15, etc., etc. And to the right of it, you'll see all these numbers. Now, as we progress and we start to understand EQ, it's very important that we understand the numbers. Okay, I didn't understand that when I was starting, but we want to make sure that these numbers below we get familiar with. So down here, this is 20 hertz, 50 hertz, 100 hertz, everything in between, 110, 20, 30, 150 hertz, 200 hertz, 300, 400 hertz, 500 hertz, all the way up to 1,000 hertz, which we then would abbreviate and call 1K or 1 kilohertz, like centimeters, millimeters, meters, same thing. We're just converting, okay? So 500 hertz, 1,000 hertz goes all the way up to 20,000 hertz. You can see here, 20,000 hertz, or 20K, 20 kilohertz. So when you hear people saying boost at 1K or subtract at 1K, or, the vocals are sitting at the sweet spot of the vocals sitting around 2 to 5K, it's important to get familiar with that, because when you use gear or plugins that are replicating analog gear, you'll see all these numbers. And it's hard to know what they do if you don't understand where the points are, etc. So if I just play the kick, okay, we can see that the energy here is sitting at about 50 hertz. And then it's rolling down 100 to 200, and you can see it slowly rolls off. So say if I wanted more energy at 1K, okay, because that makes it more punchy, and we're going to explain all this soon, but I'd have a look here. You can see there's 1K on a few of them, but I'd probably go round here 1K, and then I push the volume up here, okay, make sure it's on, and you can see that's pushing up this area here, okay, so if I pull that back, see, it pulls it right down, 1K, and if I push it up, plus 15, I'm always going extreme when I'm experimenting with this stuff. Okay, can you see that? Okay, so this basically is to enhance. Now, what you can do here is if you have a bit of headroom meaning space, so you're in your door and it's not going crazy red. Okay, you can always pull this down a bit if it is, etc., etc. And then what you can do is you can push the input. Now, as we push the input, you can see I'm going into the red here. And it's creating saturation. So what's that? What does that mean? It's adding color. It's pushing parts of the frequency. So if I pull this down, okay, now as I push this up, you can see that it's pushing up this higher area. I haven't touched EQ or anything, but as you push the saturation in any of these plugins, whether it's an SSL, an API, or a Neve, and the idea is to experiment and understand what sounds you like. Now, if I want really punchy drums, my first instinct is to go use an SSL console. And I don't have to push everything to 10 or 11. Okay, but, you know, over 20 tracks, you're pushing it a little bit. You can play with the EQ, which we're not going to do yet. But all we want to do here is, when you open a console plugin, what I would encourage you to do is to push the input 10 to 20%. Okay? Like this. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're going into the red in here, as long as you're not going into the red too much on your door, because then you're going to get digital distortion, which is not pleasant. Okay, we're going for this analog distortion. All right, so if I turn this off, see we're getting an extra 10 to 20% there. Okay, now a lot of these samples that people download from places like Splice, they've already been processed, but I want to teach you how to process it if it needs processing. Okay, so a lot of the samples we download already have processing, which means they don't have much headroom and you can't push them. But the objective is to understand what to do if you do have room to push it, because we do want to make it as punchy as possible. Now, we can use a whole bunch of tape saturation plugins, but what I want to talk about is from my top 3 plugins, this is number 2. Okay, so number 2, I love Trash 2. And I'll show you why. Very easy to use plugin, only a few steps here. Okay, so we can see here it says saturate. I'm going to click saturate, and then you have tape saturation down the bottom. I'm going to click tape saturation. Okay, and then we have a drive feature. Now I'm going to show you what happens when we drive, but let's see, we're going to drive it here. Okay, and whenever I'm testing a plugin, guys, always go extreme. Don't do this. See this? You can't hear shit. Okay, so if I go like this, okay, we can hear a big difference there. And what I want to do is I want to push it as far as I can. So you drive it. You make sure your speakers are down so you don't hurt your ears. Okay. And then you hear that, you go, oh, Spike, that sounds trash. And yes, it does. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull it back. And I'm not looking at meters or numbers or anything like that. I'm just using my ears. Okay. So I'll pull it back till I like the sound of it. That's good for me. Okay. Now let's turn it off. Oh my God. Let's turn it on. Now look how goddamn punchy that is. I told you this is going to be game changers, okay? So if we open up the SSL and then we go into saturation, and I'm going to show you what's happening. I'm not just saying do this and do this. I'm going to show you why it is sounding so much more punchy. Okay, so now if I turn this guy off and this guy off, still sounds good. Put this SSL on. Now tape saturation. Okay, we're getting a lot more bang. Make it sound more punchy. Why, when I go down to my car, you know, when I'm playing it in my speakers in my studio, it sounds amazing. When I go to my car, it sounds like crap. And that is an excellent question. And that is one that when I was starting out 10 years ago, I'd do a mix and I'd go down to the car because I knew Dr. Dre went to his car, and I'd be like, this sounds like trash, all right?
Me outside, about that?
Sounds like trash. And I get really, really upset. And I just didn't understand what was going on. Okay, so the answer lies here. So basically what happens is when you're listening on your speakers, there's a lot of low frequencies. Now, when you're in car speakers, they're kind of like the NS10s, okay, which I have right here, these white ones, okay? They're like a worldwide speaker that people use around the world. They're not very expensive, but the reason that we love the NS10s is the NS10s don't have a lot of low frequency. So everything sounds good on big, expensive speakers when you turn it up to 12. But when you go into a shitty car stereo, you're wondering why your mix isn't hitting hard. And it's because the car stereo, unless you have a sub in there, is probably not hitting around here, which is where the kick hits on your speakers, okay? So what we're doing is we need to give this illusion that the kick is super punchy, and we do this by enhancing the upper frequencies around here, okay? So if I turn this off and we have a look at the kick. Now, this is why FabFilter Pro Q2 is so good, because you can see where the energy is. The energy is here, okay? That feels quite punchy. What I like to do is I like to get rid of, up to 30 to 40 hertz. So you can see this isn't making a big difference, yeah? And if I go like this, it is. Now, the reason that I do that is because there is actually sound being produced here. Okay, I don't know if you can hear that, but there is sub-frequencies below 50 hertz, 40 hertz. And what happens is when you build those up over 10, 20, 30 tracks, you start getting this muddy rumble that you may have noticed that's happened to you in your music. You're like, it sounds rumbly and doesn't sound clean. And it's because these frequencies that even though they're very, very low, they're definitely present. And when you build one upon the other, upon the other, upon another, they start building up and they start clashing and mudding up your mix and sounding shit. So what's good is, see, we get rid of that. And I'm not taking energy away from the kick. If I go too far, you're going to hear it. Okay, so you just find the sweet spot here. And you cut that out, okay? And you can do the same up the top. Is that making a difference? Not really. If I go like this, it is making a difference. So that's a creative choice. Do you want it to sound more underwater? Now, and if you go like this, you're going to be losing these mid frequencies, and that's what's going to make it pop in your car speakers. So saturation is actually, you can see the energy is here, 50, 100 hertz, 200 hertz, but we want to bring up the energy around 500 to 2K, okay? And by adding the SSL, okay, and then if we go to saturation, let's see what's happening when I saturate. Ready? I'm going to push it. Here we go. Now look at those top frequencies popping up. Now, obviously, they're coming up too much, but look at that. See how that's pushed all these frequencies. It's brought all the energy up from here. So once all that energy has been brought up, that's what's going to give you the pop. And so we obviously pull it back. But you can see even if I turn this off now, so let's look around 500 to 1K, yeah? It's instantly dropped. 1, 2K, 500. Okay, so this is what saturation is doing, and this is why it's so goddamn important. Now, you can use any type of saturation plugin. Okay, I can list you a shitload. Off the top of my head, I would say something like FabFilter Saturn is really good. If you're going tape plugins, you could go Waves. I would say Kramer over J37 is better. And then from there, you could go UAD, Studer, and Oxide. I would say for low-end type instruments, Oxide. For mid-range to higher, the Studer tape machine. Slate Digital, I don't know what type of tape saturation plugins they have, but Isotope Trash is great. Plugin Alliance, Black Box is amazing. So there's lots and lots of plugins that do this. You just need to kind of experiment and try them out, okay? So this is the second of my third. Now, we've already can see the EQ, right? So once I put the EQ on, what's happening is as we're saturating and we're pushing things, the objective here is to be able to get rid of frequencies that are coming out when we're saturating that we don't necessarily like. So this is called reductive EQ. Now, when we all first start producing, this is the one mistake that we all do. Ready? We go like this. Now, why do we do this? And the answer is very simple. Because we don't know what we're doing and it sounds good. Okay, so this is like rookie 101 error. Okay, this is what everyone who first starts producing does. So an amateur producer will do additive EQ first. A more experienced producer is going to do reductive EQ. Okay, so what we like to do is we like to, if this is a little bit too strong, I can pull that down. Okay, you're sculpturing. Okay, so you can adjust and you can pull energy down. So it's just like a subtle, back and forth between like boosting, pushing, making it really punchy, and then being able to pull it back. And then what I like to do is I like to go back to that SSL if I need, depending what it is. If it needs more bang, I'll turn on the EQ. This one doesn't really. And then you can start pushing at areas. Depending what I'm doing, if I'm working on like a video game, music and stuff like that, I know that most of the people will be playing the video game on their phone if it's an app. So then I'd be pushing the higher frequencies because I know they're not going to hear these, deeper frequencies in their phone. So I want to make sure that it sounds really punchy up the top. So if I turn this off now, so you can hear it's much more punchy, okay? So these are some of the steps you can take. And then reductive EQ, you want to be able to pull things back. Okay, so they're my top 3 plugins, and there's a whole bunch of variations that you can do. At the end of the day, you don't need the SSL, but it is very nice to have. And I would also equally use the, Waves. Let's have a look here. So the Waves SSL channel, I'm using the UAD one. But, I use this one for many, many years as well. Just as good. Okay, so here it's a little bit different. You see you have input, which is here. Push it there. And you just push that forward. So I'll turn it off. Here you go. Let's turn all of these off. Okay, I'm not touching the out, just touching the in. Turn it off. You can instantly hear the difference. Already better, okay? Then if you wanted to get to EQ, it's on the side here. So low frequency. Always go extreme brush strokes, not little, and then pull back. Okay, and then you can go bit by bit if you want and just check them. And then you slowly learn where are the punchiest parts of the kick. I generally like around 800 hertz and 1K, 1.5K. And I just adjust here and there as I need. It depends what kick you're using as well. So if we turn this off, huge difference, yeah? And look, you can still get great results with the waves. So I turn this off. This is the UAD. This is waves, without, with, and UAD without, with. Okay, both great. Still really good results. So I wouldn't be upset using either, but it just comes down to like what you like, what you have access to, and then if you don't have consoles, you still want to be able to use the concept. So it's like, how can I saturate? What native instruments do I have? And if I had nothing, I'd be going into, we're talking about saturation and distortion. So whatever you're in, whatever door you're in, you want to be looking to see, okay, what do I have access to? And it might just be some form of distortion or an amp or something like that. So I'd go, okay, let's have a look at distortion. drive. Off. So you see you're getting a bit more push there. And if we have a look at the frequency, now the sound quality is not what I want. So you can see it's pushing up the energy. You pull it back. On. You get the idea. So you can use lots of different plugins even if you don't have access to the ones you want. But things I would be investing in, SSL, I would really say, if you're doing hip hop drums and stuff like that, that's a no-brainer for me. And you can get that on Waves for $20 to $30. It's on sale like every 5 minutes. And then from there, I would highly recommend something like Isotope Trash. Not only the tape saturation component of it, but there's lots of other features in here that are unbelievable. There's lots of amps and drives and effects. You can do multiple effects at the same time, and even within that there's lots of other things you can do: filter, dynamics, different types of amps, delays, etc., etc. So this really is a wonderful investment, and you can make things sound fantastic and experimental and all that type of stuff. And then, the other no-brainer for me would most probably be, let's turn that down, would most probably be FabFilter. FabFilter Pro Q2, Pro Q3, I wouldn't be able to live without that. Just having the meter, it's really usable and easy and great features, and you can get really advanced with this the more and more that you use it. So what I would do, generally speaking, is I'd use this process over most of my stuff. So let's have a look. So I'm not going to do it on this because this is kind of pumping, but, and as you learn more about it, so I'm doing reductive EQ first. You can rinse and repeat this process. And within even the samplers that I'm using here, you have saturation. But I can already hear that these sounds, they're from, these drums in particularly, are Boy Wonder. And I can already hear that they've been processed. So that's without the stuff on the kick. Okay, so it does color the sound. You might not like the color, but you can always change it and alter it. And at the end of the day, that's the idea. You want your drums to sound punchy and big, and you got to listen to it in the mix and see if they're really kicking out. So then you can listen on big speakers, small speakers. It's going to make a big difference. Without, with, I'll do it without. See how it kind of disappears in the mix there? Does in my headphones anyway. Without. That's it. That's the hour of power tutorial. My top 3 plugins, alright? Mixing consoles, tape or tube saturation, distortion, any type of saturation that colors the upper frequencies and helps it punch through. And then reductive EQ. Get rid of any sounds that maybe it's pushed a bit too much or that you're not enjoying, but that is the objective. All right, my friends, Divi Beats, Antarctica, Luddy Bud, thank you for coming through. Thank you for sharing your music. Thank you for sharing the love. I'm going to get back to work. Much to do today, but I'm sending you Love and vibes. We're going to be back on Wednesday with a Twitch collab, squad collab. Make sure you join the Discord channel. We'll be putting some updates there. But please, when you're working on your stuff, feel free to share it with me in the Discord. And on top of that, yeah, I want to hear your progress and also like what are your struggles with music production wise, because we can literally go week to week. You know, I have an idea of what I want to teach and put out there, but we can always revert it back to the stuff that you guys are working on. That's it for today, fam. Yes, sir.
Come on, Cletus.
Come on, Cletus. All right, sending you guys love and vibes, and peace out. Hey, rock and roll.